Okay, I'm giving a try at recording this, so hopefully I'm doing this right. Thanks everybody for joining us. We're very excited at the number of people we've seen come back to the WoW Guild or have joined us anew. And so we thought it would be a good idea to kind of sit down and talk about Grievance, not just in the WoW division, but across the organization. You've joined a very exciting and dynamic group that has a lot to offer. And I know maybe it can be a little bit intimidating, maybe even confusing as to where to look for things and who does what and what things can you participate in. So we thought we'd have this meeting. It's meant to be interactive, so if you have a question, please feel free to ask it, speak up. I have TeamSpeak open so I can see if anybody else's light comes on, and I'll stop talking. Otherwise, I am from New York, so I might talk a little fast. I'll try not to. For those of you who do not know me, I'm Sky. All my tunes start with Sky, so I'm pretty easy to find in the games that I play. And I've been gaming since EQ1, and I'm the recruiting officer for the WoW division. And I also get involved with the community outreach group of Grievance, which we'll speak about in a little bit. And I'll tell you a little bit more when we get to that point. So let me kind of just give you a little level setting, if I can, about the Grievance organization and structure. If you look more broadly than just the WoW game, I think you probably realize that Grievance is in a number of games, both in the PC world, the platform world, even mobile applications, you name it. If it's a game, there's probably somebody from Grievance playing it. So you'll see that we have very dynamic forums that cover a number of topics and a number of games. And running that, kind of the central hub, if you will, is our council group. And the council group is really the governing body of all of Grievance. So they reach across the entire organization, and that means all the different games and all the different activities that we do. The heartbeat of all those activities is our council. And there's different members of that. You can find out some more information on the forums. But Steelheart is one of the key leaders of the entire organization. He's a very outgoing guy. You'll see him on our streams. You'll see him pop into TeamSpeak. He'll say hello. And he's always available to ask questions, and he's very approachable. So I encourage you, if you have more questions about the entire organization or want to know some history about it and want to chat with somebody who's been with the organization a long time, he's kind of your man. Alongside with him is Liette. You'll see Liette participate in streams with him. You'll also see she's the main driver behind our quarterly newsletter. And if you have not seen the quarterly newsletter, I highly recommend you track it down. It's on the forums, and it is amazing. It is very professional looking. It goes across all of our games. It has some bios of individuals within Grievance, as well as some highlights from some of the activities that we've gotten involved with. So that's a must read for everybody. Now, you heard me just mention something about streams. And one of the things Grievance does, and does it very well and does it a lot, is streams. They are very visible in the gaming community. And if you go to our forums webpage and you look at the top, there's a banner and there's a calendar click. And you can click on that calendar and it'll pop up all the scheduled streams that we have across the organization. And streams can be where somebody's playing one of the games, so you might watch people playing WoW if we're streaming in WoW, somebody playing Rift in Grievance. It might be where we're interviewing somebody from the gaming community. We've had some very colorful and interesting individuals that we've interviewed, and they've been very forthcoming with their time. So if you're really interested in hearing more about gaming, or maybe even a particular game, because I'll have ones that are targeted towards WildStar, for example, or EQ Next. You can sit down and watch that, and if you can't make the time that it's on, you can always see it later. It's available on Twitch, which is really nice, so you can make it fit your schedule. But I highly recommend watching those. They're a lot of fun, and a lot of work goes in behind them. There's a lot of research, a lot of coordination, people giving of their time to sit down and actually produce the stream. So it's a lot of fun to watch people that you might know across the organization get involved and interact with others in the gaming community. And the last person I'll mention in regards to the council is Memo. He is the council president. So when you see that there's a council meeting, he will be the one who usually is kind of the moderator of the conversation, as well as other duties that he has in regards to that. Council meetings are posted on the forums when they're going to be held, and they do welcome anybody to attend. So if you're interested in hearing what's going on across the organization, I highly recommend that you attend those as well. So as you can see, there's a lot of opportunity to do other things than just play a game. Some people, that might be all you want to do, and that's fine. But I wanted to make sure that you were aware of all the other activities that we do have across the organization. Now, I spoke of the community outreach group, and you'll hear them be called COG. It's COG. And they're behind a lot of the streams. They'll do the research. They'll work with the marketing group that we have to coordinate with who's getting interviewed if we're interviewing someone, as well as making sure we have people to conduct the streams, and all the other coordinating activities that you can imagine go on behind the scenes. COG is very dynamic, and they're open to anybody in the organization, meaning if you say, hey, you know what, I'd like to do a stream, or I'd like to do some research, or maybe I want to get involved with the marketing group. I like to do graphics or some other things, or maybe I want to represent Grievance at a convention, or whatever might be going on. There's a lot of different activities, both internally in the organization as well as externally. So if you want to get involved, please make sure you can let myself know. I'll be more than happy to kind of conduct some introductions or post on our forums in the COG community forum and let people know that you're interested in getting involved. It's rewarding, and it's something different to do. Probably, I know for me, it's a lot different than banking, which is my career. So I enjoy getting to do a little bit something different on the side. With that, I'll just kind of wrap up the structure discussion with each guild has a guild leader. Our leader is Barothian. And then we have our XO, or executive officer, who is Zyrus. And then Nyonya is an officer, as well as myself. And then we also have Shadowborns, who unfortunately couldn't make it today, and he's our task leader. So we kind of are available to any of you anytime that you have a question, or if you need help with something, please do not hesitate to ask any of us. That's what we're here for. Any questions on that? I know I kind of went through a lot of information really quickly.
No questions. Good job.
Thank you. Okay, with that, I'm going to hand it over to Barry and let him cover WOW policies and our charter.
Oh, hello?
Hello.
Hi, I have a quick question, actually. I was
Okay.
curious, what does a task leader do?
Task leaders are what I would say is almost like an officer in training. They're learning how to lead raids. They're learning how to do other officer positions so that we have some backup. So say, for example, somebody wants to talk about joining the guild, and myself as recruiting officer, maybe I'm not available, then he could fill my shoes and be able to speak to that person. Or maybe X can't make it to a raid. We would have him to help out in running the raid.
Nice. Got it. Cool, thanks.
You're welcome. Okay. Barry, you want to speak on policies and charter?
Yes, in the Grievance organization, the Grievance as a whole has a charter that is basically considered the organizational charter, which covers all the guilds, and each guild has their own charter. And these charters are documents that spell out exactly what Grievance stands for, what Grievance expects of the people that are in Grievance, and behaviors and stuff like that. As you as you all know, we are a family friendly environment. We're not going to be hardcore rating. Um, excuse me. But we also want to enjoy ourselves, so we try to raid. But we understand that people are going to need sometimes going to have flexible schedules. Um, we do not. Uh, I'm trying to get my thoughts together. We do not allow any harassment of any sort uh, of players, both in Grievance and on other players in the games, because we feel like it's unnecessary. Even though a lot of people in these games feel like it's their duty to down other people and stuff like that. Our goal is to be a friendly, helpful environment that would just makes the game all that much more better for both Grievance and the people that are affected by the Grievance players. And I, as the new recruits come on, I try to cover up the team speak rules that we have, the few that we have, and the basic is team speak. Each channel should be considered G or PG unless it's marked rated M. We do not like or we do not want people starting to discuss politics, religions, or other hot topics. Even to some extent, in the mature channel, it just causes a lot of tension and drama, and we don't like drama. And that's one of our goals is to provide the friendly environment with no drama. I'm trying to think of anything else that we may really need to cover. Like you guys, I'm here to have fun. I want to enjoy myself, and I want to make sure everybody else enjoys themselves. So if you guys have any questions or concerns, uh, you're more than free to come see me, XO, Zarias, Sky, or even Shadowborns. And to add to that task leader position, he's simply an officer position that maybe assign some sub duties, like Sky was talking. But his main goal for us is to basically assist us in anything that we need in terms of our officer corps.
Awesome. Thank you, Barry. Does anybody have any questions for Barry? Okay, hearing none. Neonia, would you like to speak about Gamer Girls?
I can, sure. Gamer Girls was something that was started when I was actually director of COG. Obviously, real life, as you can hear my son in the background, kind of makes things difficult to do something like COG. It takes up a lot of time, as Sky said. But Gamer Girls is something that is looking for any woman who plays any kind of game out in the community, trying to recruit people in who are um, wives, mothers, career women, just a place for us all to kind of get together. We have our own forum to hang out and to stream in. It's usually free to play games every other week. It started, I don't know, 3 months ago or so. We streamed in quite a few different games. It is so much fun when all the girls get together. I don't know if any of y'all have ever watched it, but I know it's something that's still growing. So if you guys know any women, female gamers out there who might be looking for a place to hang out with some like-minded, mature women, mothers, wives, career women, let them know, because it's something that I know we're trying to grow as an organization and have a friendly environment for women to hang out and game.
That's great. Thank you, Neonia. And for those of you who are interested, the Gamer Girls also have their own forums, and you can find that at www.ggg, that's three G's, girls.net. So, moving on, let's talk a little bit about the boards. I've mentioned there's a lot of information. I just want to emphasize to everybody that the boards are there for you. There's a lot of information. For example, Zyrus has done a great job posting strats for many of the boss fights. There's also just places to chit chat. There's things about the community as a whole, other games, you name it. So it doesn't just have to be the WoW forums that you visit. There is a lot more to the forums that can provide you with some information or some enjoyment to interact with other people. But I really encourage you to be active because obviously the more active people are, the more interesting it gets. So please make sure you do make a habit of visiting the forums. With that, I will pass it on to Zyrus if you want to speak to everyone about rating in WoW.
Sure. As most of you know, we do raid. We presently raid on Thursdays. This is a flex raid, as opposed to the normal and heroic, which we're open to, but as you guys will probably know, it requires more time. And so for the most part, at this point, we've been doing flex. On Tuesday nights, we tend to do LFR. That was also our second flex night. Now that more people are geared, I know there's still some people that are in Pandaria leveling. I know there's still some people who are below 510, which is what we have chosen as our starting point item level. It's a goal more than a hard and fast rule. It's just something to reach for. Obviously, there are ways to get to that pretty easily, but some of it requires that you do go into LFR, whether it's with us or on your own, or however you choose. Or 510 is still a little difficult to get with just the freebie epics from Loot Island. I mean, you won't make it that far. So it does require a little effort. At some point, we will, and it may be sooner than later, we will change the Tuesday night LFR back to our regular flex night, the way it was before. To raid, we do require, well, let's put it this way, raiding does require a certain amount of dedication. Even if you can only go in there once a week, 2 hours a day, it still does require a certain amount of commitment. On personal commitment. Rating is the highest level of PvE content in pretty much in any game that has rating. It is the group function that requires the most of the player, whether it's time, or research, gear, whatever. I mean, if you say raid, you're talking about something that's pretty high end. Even if we choose to raid flex, and our main reason for raiding flex is not a difficulty thing. It's in an organization like Grievance, you want to include as many people as possible. Flex allows us to do that. It's one of the only games that I know that has that feature, and it's actually a really great feature. It just came out in this last patch, 5.4, and it's great. I mean, we can take 10 people in there, up to 25 people. The rate will scale. The gear doesn't scale. I mean, it's still personal loot, and the item level doesn't go up anymore, but it does allow us to mix and match who we bring in. As with any normal raid, there are certain things we can't get around. We have to have 2 tanks. We typically have to have a number of healers to balance off the amount of DPS that we have. So if we go in with 10 people, we'll have to have three healers, excuse me. If we go in with 15, we have to have 4, and then basically up to 6 healers if we go in with a full 25. I tend to err more on healers, so if there is a healer on, they won't sit. Even if we only have 11 people and 12 and 13 are healers, they'll go. I wish we could do that with tanks, but we can't. There's just nothing for a third or fourth tank to actually do, so there will always be just 2 tanks. Most of the tank fights or most of the boss fights in this tier are 2 tanks. There were a few in the first tier and a couple in the previous tier that were only 1 tank fight. So in that case, we still bring 2, but then the off tank will switch to DPS at that point. Another thing that we do require is if you are going to raid, even if it's just I'm going to come in this one time, we do require that your gear be not only the appropriate item level, but also raid ready, meaning that it should be enchanted, you should have gems, and it should be reforged. If you're not really familiar with those, there's a website called AskMrRobot.com. You've probably seen it posted on the boards because I tend to put it on there every time I put up a raid. You just go to that site, put in your character name, pick the server, and load your character in there, and then there's an optimize button there to the right, and you click on that optimize button and it will tell you, or it will suggest, let's put it that way, it will suggest the best enchants and gems and reforging for your particular character in your class. You are free to make a certain amount of deviations from that suggestion if you know why you're actually doing them and if you're ready to actually be called on it. If I see it and something doesn't, or it catches my attention for one reason or another, I may ask you about it. And it's not to penalize anybody or anything like that. It's really just, like I said, rating is the highest level of PvE content, and there's more than just the one person, whether it's me, Barry, or anybody else. We're there to help each other. And if someone chooses to come into a raid and it's like, well, I didn't have time, I didn't want to enchant, I didn't want to reforge or whatever, it makes it more difficult for everybody else to progress. So we have to have a level that we won't go below. And for me, it's probably a little higher than most. For a casual guild, I tend to be extremely hard on tanks. Being a tank for many years, I guess it just kind of...
Tanks are important.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bad tank makes it miserable for everybody. I mean, you just can't get around it because if the tank dies, it's just over, and it's a really important role. And it's the reason why you don't see a lot of people do it. And it's not to take away from any other role. It's just that tanks have a responsibility, and probably healers as well, that DPS doesn't have. They're looked on differently than other classes are. So for us, it's not to put any more pressure on anybody else that's actually doing the job. It's just that I feel that when you have a tank that's not up to speed, it affects everybody else. Like, we can bring in a DPS that's it's naked, basically, and we can get through the content if we have enough DPS we can't do that with a tank. And for the most part, we can't do that with a healer either. So it's not really a big deal to load your character in there, hit one button, check to see where your gear is. We will help you with enchants. You should try to be responsible for your mats, but you should always ask if if you don't have the mats, or if you don't have a character that can get the mats for yourself, you should ask. There may be some in the guild bank. Other people may have some. It's the auction house prices tend to be kind of ridiculous at times, so it's always a good idea to ask and see if somebody has, crafting mats or whatever it is, before you spend, 500 gold on, spirit dust or something like that. So, with that, we would like to complete. Some of us have killed Garrosh already, but that's in LFR. We would like to actually complete that and kill Garrosh in flex mode. That will take a little bit of commitment to actually do, and it's more so for us because we don't raid as often. It's harder to raid casually than it is to raid normal and heroic, only because if you're raiding only 1 or 2 nights a week, it's even more important that your character and that your group is up to speed, because you're only raiding a couple nights a week or for a couple hours. So, but we still would like to complete that content before the next expansion comes out, ideally. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen. 5.4 has only been out for a little while now, but it seems already that it's almost on its way down. I mean, most of us have completed the content a while ago. So, we're looking for something else to actually do. So at some point we will see, based on feedback, we have enough people in the guild. At present, we have 25, 26-ish level 90s. We have about 22, 21 that are raid ready by item level. We have about another 6 or 7 people who are in Pandaria leveling, and then we have about another 6 or 8 people who are in various levels between Azeroth and Northrend leveling. Since Flex is flexible, I mean, we only really need 10. So you got to figure out of about close to 40-something people. As long as we get the 2 tanks and the healers, the DPS can kind of fill in there. So if you'd like to raid, but your schedule is going to be more flexible and you're not going to be able to commit to certain times and things like that, DPS is a good place to be, because we can shuttle DPS in and out even from fight to fight. It really doesn't matter. If you have a healer or a tank spec, DPS is still a good off spec to have, to maintain, because like I said, some fights, even if we're not doing current content, some of the older content does not require 2 tanks. Plus we tend not to swap tanks out as readily as we would DPS, tanks or healers actually, because it does affect the progression of the guild. But that's only probably for progression content. When we're doing a wing that's more that we can pretty much get down pretty easily, we would probably swap different roles so people can get a chance to learn another role. Plus we'll also do alt runs and things like that. Other than that, raids are meant to be fun. I mean, games are meant to be fun in general, and that's kind of how we approach it. There is a balance that we have to try to strike between having fun, being flexible, and also progressing. It's a little difficult at times, but know that we do want to, our intention is to kill bosses when we're raiding. We are there to kill the boss and raid and move on. We're not there to just say, well, we went and saw the same boss over and over again for 8 months. That's not why we're there. We're there to down the bosses and move on and get people gear and have a good time while we're doing it. So
That's the most important thing.
oh yeah, I mean, why are we playing the game to begin with? I mean, we're here to enjoy ourselves. So we're going to do that in the most fun way that we can think of. But we also have to, you have to understand that it does require a certain skill level to do. If at any point there's something that you don't understand, something you need, something you're not sure of as far as your class or your role in the raid or anything about raiding or your class or whatever, feel free to come to me. I haven't played every class. I played most of them. I haven't healed enough to really call myself a healer or even anywhere close to it, but we have some really great healers, Tracy and Kumpa and some other ones. Frenchie's coming up there, so I'm sure they'd be more than happy to answer any questions if you're a healer type. But most healers are kind of like born healers anyway, so I'm sure they can handle themselves. But they are there if you're just not sure about changes in your class, if you've been away from the game for a while or things like that.
Just don't ask me about the paladin.
But other than that, I mean, and just game stuff in general, I mean, I'm always open if you have a question about anything. I've played the game since open beta, on and off, obviously. I haven't played for the full 9 years. Well, it's almost 9 years. The 23rd will be consistently, but I put my time in, so I do know a couple things. So please feel free to ask if you need anything. I mean, no matter what it is, even if it's just help with a quest or whatever. And for the new people who are here, I do apologize that we can't, or the game doesn't really allow us to do more to help you level. We are aware that you're leveling, and we do agonize that we can't do more than the game allows. We would love to drop down to your level and help you run dungeons and help you do, or just be company if we could. I personally don't have any more spots in my account. I mean, that level 1 that I made today for the stream, that's my only free slot. I have pretty much every other slot at 90. So I don't have any lower level tunes anymore. That's not going to stop me from helping, but I know some people would prefer not to be blasted through content and try to do it at their level. But if there's anything that we can do, if you're stuck on a boss or you just need to get a dungeon run done for quests or things like that, I'm more than happy to pick up something and run you through something if you need, or get past a boss or a tough spot or whatever. Just need company to hang out. That's cool too. And as always, I mean, we're all here if you need us, and not just the officers, but Grievance as a whole. You're not confined to like the WoW channel. If you're on TeamSpeak and stuff, if you happen to be on late at night or early in the morning or during the day or whatever, I mean, every channel that you see that you can actually get into, I mean, obviously officer channels and things like that are one thing, but every game channel that you see, you're free to just drop in there, and hang out and talk to people and meet people. Maybe a game you used to play like SOTOR or Guild War or something like that, or maybe there's, just people in there and you just feel like hanging out. You're more than welcome to just drop into any channel and say,
Yeah, I'll add a little bit to that. That's the lounges. The party channels, that's hit or miss. Depends on the people. Sometimes people get a little annoyed with that, but overall, it's more than welcome just to go and chat with these other people. Get to know the other people in Grievance, because guess what? They're just like you. They just don't play WoW.
Yeah. So, if you see those other channels, then there's people in there, or you're interested in the other games. Maybe you have an old SOTOR account and maybe they're doing a free weekend or something like that. You can always pop in the lounge or just talk to one of the officers there, see if you can get a guild invite or things like that. If you want to bring your character over or just, hang out for an event or whatever it is. And like Sky had mentioned about the forums, I know a lot of people avoid them like the plague. The reason why we use them, or the reason why I use them in particular, is because I don't always see everybody. So for raiding if there's anything that's going to go on a rating, that's where I'm going to put it. There's no real ability for me to do what I can do on the forums in game. If there was, then I would, but there isn't. So like raid strats or just even scheduling raids, I could put them on the calendar, but I tend to put more information in the raid than is on the calendar. So the calendar doesn't work for me. So if you're looking for anything that I did, more than likely it's going to be on the forums. So it's a good idea, particularly if you're interested in raiding. You don't have to go and browse through absolutely everything. You can just click and see if there's something new up there. Or something that applies to you or something that you're interested in. I mean, every day or so, it only takes a couple minutes to take a look in there and see if there's anything going on. Other than that, thank you guys for hanging out and for being here and being around. It's fun having you guys here. I mean, and I hope you guys have fun while you're here.
Thanks. That was good.
Oh, this is Dove. Can I ask a rating question real fast?
Sure.
I was just curious because I haven't raided in like 2 years. I used to raid all the time, but I'm working on a healer that who knows if it'll get up and get geared, in a timely manner before the next expansion. But if it does, when people want to raid for like a healer, I'm sure you have healers who come all the time. And I don't know I haven't, kept up with all the changes they made to raiding in the last 2 years with the LFR and all this other stuff. In the flex, would someone like me just be like a backup healer only taken when, someone else can't make it? Or how does someone get into the rotation if they're willing to commit to the nights to raid every week?
Well, for healers, typically I will always take a healer. I mean, until it gets to the point where it's absurd. Like if the healers start outnumbering the amount of DPS, which I don't ever see happening. We don't have a lot of healers. We probably have about 5, maybe 6 healers. Even if we had 6 or 8, let's say, in a particular night, we can, which would be more than, let's say, is required for a 25-man. One of the things that the game allows is something called loot specialization. I can go in as a DPS warrior and change my loot specialization to protection, and all the gear that drops for the bosses that I kill will be tank gear. And the same for healers. Healers can go in as DPS and have their gear set to their healing spec and get gear. For new healers, or we're actually in that enviable position where we actually have more healers than we'd need, I would still take a healer in healing spec as long as I felt we had enough DPS to balance it off. Particularly because it gives healers an opportunity to heal. We also have healers who like to DPS as well. So if you come in as a healer, I'm sure I can get Tracy to switch to her hunter or her mage or something else if she wanted to. Or we have a few healers like Kumpa. Kumpa has a shadow spec. We can get him to DPS at times. So we do have ways around it. So for a healer, like I said, I would love to be in the position of having too many healers. So I don't see that to being a problem at all.
Gotcha. And do you take last question? Do you sign up for raids through when the time you guys send the invites through the in-game calendar, or you do that through the forums?
I usually put the raids in the forums a couple days before. Like I say, it's typically Tuesday, Thursday. That's something that may change over time. I don't think so. I don't see us raiding more than 2 nights a week. Maybe if we're going through a particular boss that we need to get through or something like that. But typically it's Tuesday, Thursday, because there's some people that I know can't make other days. Friday is a bad day to do raids. It's just people are out, people are doing things. It's just a bad day to do stuff in general. Mondays, we have attempted to raid on Mondays occasionally, but that's kind of hit or miss. Monday's a really late night for me typically. work-wise, so I tend to get home later on Monday. I will if if there's something going on and I can actually make it, but typically it's Tuesday, Thursday. So like this Tuesday, we will be doing something. I don't know if we're going to do LFR this week. It really depends. If we have the healers, we may go in for flex. I think at this point, what we're going to do is flex will be the priority over LFR on Tuesdays, and LFR will only be like a backup. Basically, if we don't have enough to actually raid, then we'll do LFR, because some of us have reached a point where there's just nothing in LFR that matters. So at this point, we need to get into flex if we need to progress as far as personal gear. So look for the forums under the raid section, under Horde members in the raid section. It will be in there.
Appreciate it.
Any other questions for Cyrus? Barry, would you like to add anything about plans for WoW Grievance going forward in the next few months?
Yeah. We understand that there are several other games coming out in the next few months. And we know that's going to take a hit on our numbers here in WoW, but we are still working at recruiting new WoW players. Well, not new WoW players, but WoW people who are what do you consider dedicated to WoW, that they know they're going to stay with WoW no matter if they go play another game or not, because we know that there are people already in Grievance that are like that. They're always going to be coming back to WoW. We want to always have a place over here for them. Like now, there were several people that really didn't have any other games to play. So guess what? They just came back to one of their original games, WoW, to come join us to have some fun. That's one good thing about Grievance, is that if you decide to go play a game, there's a really good chance that Grievance has a presence in that game, and when you go over to that game, you'll find very similar people that you see here in this guild. In terms of game hopping, I personally don't have any issues with people coming and going from the WoW guild. Just let us know. We don't really matter. We want you to have fun, enjoy yourself within the Grievance organization, and we'll be here when you get back. But if you're out and about, and I know with the launch of WildStar, the launch of EQ Next and stuff like that, I could foresee other guilds in WoW starting to disintegrate and break up because people stop playing. They don't have any friends to play with, because I know you guys know that the game is only a place for you to play with other people, like massively multiplayer. So if you don't really have a good group of people to play with, the game is less than half the fun it really could be. I hope that makes sense.
I think it does.
Yep.
It just brought a tear to my eye.
No. However, with WildStar and EQ Next being spoken of, even with the release of WildStar, although I think most of the people in this channel will probably be migrating over there to try the game, I will always have my WoW account active, and I will always regularly log on to my characters. And anytime an expansion is released, you can expect that I'm going to be in WoW leveling my character to the next max level. I have not yet played an MMO besides World of Warcraft that has held my attention to raid. I can't
User
say
joined
I've
your
raided
channel.
in any other game, so while the guild may become a little scarce with the release of WildStar, with the release of EQ Next, this guild will still be here, and there will still be people playing, and we will still be actively recruiting. So, the guild is what we make it, really.
Yeah, now you're in your glutton for punishment.
Yes, I am. I mean, WildStar may be the next best thing. It may be phenomenal and better than, your first MMO. Because think about it, whatever first MMO you played is usually the one that you always go back to. Now, Scott, I don't know if that relates to you having, being an EQ person, but WoW was my first MMO. I came from FPS, so it's hard for me to transition to another game and stick with it.
Yeah, now WoW ends up being one that I keep coming back to. I've played it since closed beta. I started in that, so it's always drawn me back, even though I did start in EQ1. But to me, that just, well, I've poked my head in there a few times. It's kind of gotten too outdated for me, and I enjoy the dynamics in WoW much more.
Blizzard's done a good job of updating a game, and as it's our understanding that they're upgrading the models, just to help, bring new life into the game. Because you can see what they've done with the Pandarians. They did a really good job with both the animation and the modeling of those characters, and they're still using the same engine they used 9 years ago.
That's a good point. Well, that's a good segue to what I wanted to kind of wrap up my formal agenda with, and that's recruiting. Barry mentioned it, that we are recruiting, and recruiting is really successful if I get the help of all of you. And why that's important is because you'll be playing with individuals, and I know it can be a challenge because we do have cross-server groups and so forth. But you might come across that individual, and especially if they're not in a guild, because I don't want to cherry pick from other guilds. That's not my goal. But, you might get to know somebody, and you might enjoy playing with them. Please, feel free to tell them about Grievance, or say, hey, there's a recruiting officer in a guild who would love to talk to you, and I'd love to spend some time with the individual. So please do not hesitate to send folks my way, or tell them about Grievance, because I think that's something that helps keep us growing and getting fresh perspectives. So it's kind of fun to bring new people in.
Interestingly enough, with our level 1 run, when we were getting ready, we had several people that were like curious of what we're doing, because we had 8+ people there in terms of just waiting. And we've had a couple of people asking, hey, can we join your guild? I talked to one that turned out to be a kid, and I said, well, unfortunately we can't take 11 years old, but that even made an impression on the people in the starting area as, hey, look at all these people doing something.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Scythe.
Hey, Scythe.
Hey, Scythe.
Hello. What's up?
One other thing I'd like to mention, since Barry segued into that. Even though I'm the raid leader, I have another responsibility as well. And one of the things that is important for us to know is that, what do you guys want to do when you hit 90? I mean, if you're not raiding and you're not PvPing, and a lot of us in here don't PvP at, let's say, end game level, arenas and things like that. What do you guys want to do when you log on? If you're level 90, let's say, and you're not into raiding, or you're not into raiding that night, what do you guys want to do? I mean, transmog runs, we do things like that, but if there's something you guys want to do that either we're not doing, or even not doing that particular night, or you just have an idea, something you want to do, you should let us know. I mean, if it requires like something to organize, if it's just something you want to do, then obviously
maybe like running old world instances just to get the achievements for people that haven't gotten them yet.
We've been doing that, basically finishing up stuff that we started. A lot of you guys that are new might have come in after we have started things like the ICC achievement that we got for the mounts. There's still a couple of us, myself included, Mike, Krista, that are like one achievement away from finishing that up. But we're more than happy to go to every freaking raid, older raid from, Molten Core if you want. If you guys don't have those achievements and you want them, if there's transmog gear in there that you want, you should just let us know. I mean, like I said, we're more than happy to go all the way back to Molten Core and run this stuff if you like to. I mean, and anything else. Like I said, if there's something that you want to do, because rating's not your thing, or maybe it is, but not that particular night, just let us know. If it's something that needs to be organized or whatever, we're more than happy to help you put that together, to keep you entertained, keep us entertained too. I mean, we run out of ideas sometimes too. I mean, when you're playing a game as long as some of us have, you kind of fall into like a little pattern of things. You just log in, do what you got to do, and then but we're always welcome to help, people out if there's something that they want to do.
Well said.
I'd like to add one thing. I discussed on how Grievance is like a community of very similar people and gamers and stuff like that. And if you guys don't mind, I'd like to have Lord Scythe. He doesn't play WoW, but he comes in and speaks with us. Because we've talked to him on other places and the TeamSpeak, and we've become friends. And it's just proof that the people in other guilds and stuff like that are, just like we are. So if you would, Lord, since you joined Grievance, what have you felt of the atmosphere that you see in not only the Neverwinter guild, but as Grievance as a whole? And like, for instance, coming into this channel and speaking with us.
Well, I've got the advantage of I know quite a few people here, of course, because I've been here for 6 months now. My first day in Grievance, I felt like I was coming home. I don't know how you guys felt your first time here, but that was how I felt when I came in. And as most of the veterans know, I like to talk. So TeamSpeak is natural for me to just talk in. But you can, yeah, it's crazy, eh? But going into any room, they will welcome you as long as they're not raiding. If you're raiding, even I don't speak in other people raid channels when they're raiding.
Yeah, same here.
But going in and saying hi, you'll see me float around, not quite as much as Steel, but I do like to float to the various games and stuff.
Coolio.
And it's just a fun place to be.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I mean, I've been here a little over 2 years now. I started in SOTOR, the SOTOR Guild, and then moved over to, a couple games since then. SOTOR, Guild Wars 2, and then when Barry and Tracy were trying to get WoW back together, I moved over from Guild Wars 2 back into WoW. Just to play, basically. I didn't even think I was going to stay in there, but that's how WoW is. You just log in for a freaking weekend or something, next thing you know, it's like, 9 characters later, and they're all at cap.
Now, but would that have happened if you came back in and didn't have people to play with?
No. I can tell you that. I mean, I've told people already, if it wasn't for you and Tracy, I would not be playing WoW.
What about me?
Oh, well, see, there's Kumpa. And as long as I got Kumpa to attack you... Oh, I know it's Heck.
Oh, sorry.
You don't want
sounds
to give up
similar to
reasons
me,
to quit now.
but I'm
Come
bad
on.
with names.
Yeah, but I mean, it's really the people that are here. No, I would not be playing. I mean, the Tracy and Barry, I'm here. They got me here. Kumpa and Heck, and well, Lord's not playing, but still him being in the guild and just the other people that are here. Shadow, I played with Shadow in SOTOR, and Mr. Frenchie, I played with him for a bit in SOTOR. I'm here because of the people. I mean, I would have not be doing this. I would not be spending the time that I'm spending in here. I wouldn't be an officer. at all if it wasn't for the people in the guild.
Same here.
And what's really cool, I can speak personally, I've poked my head into different games that Grievance is in. I'm in the guild in EQ2 as well as Neverwinter, and it's amazing how welcoming everybody is across the organization, how it has that same feel to it, and much like everybody else is saying, they're people just like us. They like to game, they like to chat and hang out and have a good time, and it's a wonderful atmosphere, and you get that same level of family environment across the organization.
No one's as crazy as me, though. Just remember that.
That's true.
We won't argue with that. So, guys, I just wanted to kind of close the meeting and open it up to Q&A. So any questions you have about anything we've either spoke about here tonight or any other questions that you haven't had the opportunity to ask, if you want to speak up now or send a text here, that's fine. We'll be glad to answer your questions.
Dude, I'm being attacked by a shark.
Sorry to hear that.
Sharknado.
I'd say about the people, I would have quit my game a long time ago if it wasn't for Grievance. And I like playing my game.
Yeah, it's a special group of people and well-run organization.
I took a screenshot of it for you, Tracy.
To be honest, I probably would not be playing WoW if I didn't find Grievance. And I came here for... Yeah, actually I am. I actually am. I'm actually at LFR right now.
I'll make you regret what you just said.
Okay, guys.
Let me finish LFR, then I will.
I want to thank everybody for attending the meeting, and of course, we don't need a meeting to answer questions or have any discussion. So if you think of something you want to ask, feel free to do so at any time. And have a good evening.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks
everyone.
Good meeting.
Thank you, Sky.
Thanks, guys.
Can we take our low level teams from our